Hey there, beautiful souls. Thank you for tuning in to Mindful Bipolar Talks, where we slow down, take a breath, and dive deep into the human side of mental health. One story, one insight at a time. Before we begin, I invite you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who may be walking through similar questions. You never know how much your small act of sharing could mean to someone else's journey. Today's episode is one that touches the hearts of many families. You might be asking yourself right now, is it ADHD or is it bipolar that I'm seeing in my child? If that question has been tugging at your heart lately, stay with me. You're not alone. And the good news? There are ways to understand it better, with compassion, curiosity, and care. Why so many families are asking this question. I'm your host, Veronica Hunter. And here at Mindful Bipolar Talks, we explore how the body and brain interact, how emotional regulation grows over time, and how relationships, especially family ones, can either struggle or thrive depending on how well we understand ourselves and one another. And one question that I hear so often from families is this: how do I know what's really going on with my child? Is it ADHD? Is it bipolar? Is it something else altogether? That question is both scary and empowering, because naming what's going on is the first step to helping a child thrive. So today, I'm beyond grateful to welcome to my channel, embrace many families navigating these very same questions. Have you ever wished someone could just sit down with you, explain the differences clearly, and help you understand what to do next? That's what today's conversation is all about. The overlap between ADHD and bipolar. What makes it tricky? We start by explaining a challenge many clinicians face. When a child is struggling emotionally, the symptoms can look very similar across different diagnoses. A child with ADHD might show big emotions, impulsive behavior, and restlessness. But a child with bipolar disorder might show some of the same things, especially during a hypomanic or manic phase. So what's the difference? We can say a big part of his clinic's work is in the details, taking the time to do deep interviews, ask lots of questions, and observe patterns over time. This isn't a one-and-done diagnosis. It's about understanding the child in context, family history, personality, life events, school behavior, home life, and more. Has anyone ever rushed to label your child before really listening to your full story? Imagine how much more accurate and kind diagnosis could be when it's rooted in deep understanding. What is emotional dysregulation, and why does it matter? Let's break down a term that sounds complicated, but actually describes something very human. Emotional dysregulation. Simply put, it means having trouble managing strong emotions. For example, a child who explodes in anger over something small, a teen who collapses into sadness and can't bounce back, an adult who struggles to shift gears emotionally, even when the situation changes. In ADHD, this can happen frequently, but it tends to be fast and fleeting. Like a firework, it explodes, it's intense, but it's over quickly. In bipolar disorder, especially bipolar 2, emotional shifts may last longer and go deeper. High energy or excitement one moment, then days of deep depression after. We even compare it to a computer virus. When an emotion hijacks the mind, especially for someone with ADHD, it becomes very hard to think straight, remember things, or calm down. Have you ever seen your child get stuck in a feeling and felt helpless watching them struggle to return to center? That might be emotional dysregulation at play. How professionals figure out what's really going on. At a lot of clinics, they take a whole person approach. Evaluations last up to 3 hours, giving space for kids and teens to feel seen, not just diagnosed. They use nationally validated tools and rating scales, but more importantly, they spend time understanding the human behind the symptoms. If the child is under 12, the focus might lean more toward ADHD or anxiety, rather than assuming bipolar too quickly. Puberty, parenting dynamics, and even undiagnosed adult ADHD in the family can influence what's happening at home. For teens, things get more complicated. Hormonal changes, school stress, and emerging identity issues can cloud the picture. That's why we emphasize taking the time to see patterns over time, not just moments in isolation. Have you been trying to piece together different symptoms your child has shown? Maybe what you need is someone who looks at the bigger picture. Bipolar and ADHD can coexist, but the treatment must be different. Let's talk about what happens when both ADHD and bipolar symptoms show up in one person. This is where things can get really tangled. We are clear. Treatment must be tailored to the primary condition. If the child has bipolar I, stimulant medications commonly used for ADHD might actually worsen their symptoms. For bipolar II, the approach is more flexible but still needs careful oversight. Sometimes medication isn't the first step. Psychoeducation, really learning about the condition and how it affects the brain, is often the most powerful tool. Have you ever been unsure whether to say yes to a new medication? Maybe understanding the diagnosis more deeply is the next step before deciding. The genetics behind ADHD and bipolar. What families should know. Here's something many families find helpful. Both ADHD and bipolar disorder are highly genetic. That means they tend to run in families. ADHD has a heritability rate of 0.76, and bipolar about 0.8 on a scale from 0 to 1. That's quite high. So if you or someone else in the family has either condition, it's more likely your child may show signs too. But here's the gentle caution. Family history can sometimes cloud our judgment. Just because grandpa had bipolar doesn't mean that's what your child has. Misdiagnosis based on assumption can delay the right care. Have you ever heard yourself say, "I wonder if this runs in the family?" That instinct is valid, but it's only part of the picture. Understanding the difference between bipolar I and bipolar II. Bipolar I is the more dramatic, intense version of the disorder. It often shows up in the late teens or early 20s, with manic episodes so severe they may require hospitalization. These episodes might include risky behavior, delusions, or extreme impulsivity. Bipolar II is quieter. It involves hypomania, which can seem like creativity, confidence, or high energy, but is followed by major depressive episodes. People with bipolar II often go unnoticed because they may function well until they crash. The key to diagnosis is not just one episode, but watching the pattern over time. Have you seen someone go from energized and productive to withdrawn and exhausted, and wondered if it was more than burnout? How bipolar and ADHD show up differently at school and home. We share a powerful story of a teenage girl with bipolar II. She's a brilliant artist. At school, no one suspects anything is wrong. She's polite, quiet, and productive. But at home, her family sees the other side. Emotional spells where she crashes, disappears emotionally, or spirals into sadness. She keeps her mask on in public, but it slips off at home. This is common with many mood disorders. Kids often put on a brave face around teachers and peers, but let down their guard with family. Does your child seem like two different people, in and out of the house? You're not imagining it. It may be an important clue. The most important advice for families. As we near the end of this episode, we offers one heartfelt reminder. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Compassion goes a long way. Whether you're talking to your child, your partner, or even yourself, no matter the diagnosis, what truly helps is a tailored treatment plan, willingness to learn, supportive relationships, and a deep understanding of the individual's emotional world. Medication may be part of the picture, but emotional support, structure, and understanding are just as important. What's one small way you can show more compassion? To your child or to yourself, starting today? Final thoughts. I hope today's conversation helped you feel a little less alone and a little more empowered. Whether it's ADHD, bipolar, or something in between, the first step is understanding. The next step is compassion. And the journey, you don't have to take it alone. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with someone you care about. Your voice can be a lifeline for another family. Disclaimer. This episode is for informational purposes only. It's not a substitute for professional mental health care. Please continue consulting with licensed experts for diagnosis and treatment. Until next time, this is Veronica Hunter with Mindful Bipolar Talks. Thank you for listening and stay kind to yourself.